Wild Health is about optimizing you. We use genomics, blood work, biometrics, microbiome assessment, many other tests, and a conversation with you to come up with a full health optimization plan. What's the perfect diet, exercise, and supplement plan for you and only you? The Wild Health podcast is about optimizing all of us. Here we cover the cutting-edge science that gives you the base to be able to apply the personalized plan we give you as a patient. To sign up as a patient, go to wildhealth.com. Or if you're a physician or health coach and you want to learn how to do this for your patients, we're happy to help as well. Wildhealth.com for all the information on becoming a patient or working with us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wild Health Podcast. Mike Mallin here with you today. We're going to be talking with Dr. Kelly Halderman, who is the health officer of a company called WEO. And, you know, at Wild Health, we're always kind of keeping our eyes on the environment around health products that are out there. And we're always looking for new and interesting things. And sometimes our listeners find things and send them to us, and sometimes we find them ourselves. In any case, today we're going to be talking to this company, WEO, who does something called diamond electrolysis to water. And they make these water bottles. Now, of course, I want to mention that I've got no affiliation with WEO. Wild Health has no affiliation with WEO. I actually haven't even used this water bottle yet, so I'm actually kind of interested to hear more about it and understand a little bit more about what they're offering and what the health benefits of diamond electrolysis are for water in the first place. So Dr. Kelly Halderman from WEO, their health officer, is going to be here today talking to us about that. She is a physician turned executive level biotech expert. She has a background in functional medicine, got her medical doctorate in 2007, completed a family practice medical internship at the University of Minnesota. So she knows her stuff, and she's very, very credible, clearly. Kelly, thanks for coming on the podcast. And if you could just tell us a little bit, maybe to get started, about how you made this transition from delivering healthcare to creating healthcare products.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Mallin. I'm really excited to be here. And it really stems from a personal journey. I was practicing medicine, and I myself became very ill. I had started to have very strange neurological symptoms. I remember I was on call delivering a baby, and all of a sudden I got a giant scotoma out of nowhere and just a very severe migraine. And I had been very healthy up to this point. And so with these strange symptoms, I was able to see the best neurologist, because when you are a doctor, you get to the front of the line. And I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I was in my late 20s, and it was basically like a death sentence. And I really wasn't, I wasn't prepared. The allopathic tools that I had in my toolkit, they at that point really weren't serving me. I knew that my problem was not a deficit of medication and steroids. So I took a journey into naturopathic medicine, and I started learning about nutrition and detoxification. And hydration was really one of those things that was up there that I really took for granted. And so I, really started to optimize my health using naturopathic principles. And, I'm 110% better. I went from bedridden to literally actually had another baby after, being bedridden. So my body is in optimal condition. And again, hydration was one of the key things that I think I dialed it in, and I was just obsessed. I'm a researcher. I love science. I love published literature. And I noticed that we don't know as much as we think we know about water, about hydration, about how it acts in our body. And so I really started to delve in, and then came along WEO, and with their studies that I was able to see and the direction they wanted to go in, I was on board, and the rest is history.
Awesome. That's such a great story. I'm so glad that you're better, and glad that you've made the transition away from allopathic medicine into more of a functional, sort of preventative type of medicine, which I'd say you're still, you in your bio, you say you're no longer practicing medicine, but in a lot of ways, creating these products for people is medicine, right? I mean, we're improving people's health,
Hippocrates
hopefully.
did say food is medicine, and that includes water. You're right.
Right on. Totally. So tell us a little bit about the WEO bottle. I'm just interested in general. I will admit I come to this podcast with a bit of a I don't know, say chip on my shoulder, but a bit of an opinion around electrolysis, because I think its benefits have been inflated in the past, especially around creating alkalinity of water, which I'm not yet convinced on. But I also know that that's not necessarily what you guys are suggesting. So I'm excited to hear what exactly the WEO bottle is doing and some of the science behind it.
Right. And so visually, for those who can actually see me, this is the water bottle right here. This is the WEO bottle. Our diamond coated electrodes are in the module in the bottom. And so, yes, I have been familiar with electrolysis for about 10 years. And I do agree with you, Dr. Mallin, that the benefits, they seem to be, they have a really good PR team when it comes to, selling things like Kangen water and things, the pH being alkaline. There's just no clinical data. I mean, I don't have opinions. I look to the data. I look to the published research for my opinions when I'm going to actually talk about something. And that is why, really, when we're looking at the diamond-coated electrodes and how we're utilizing electrolysis, but we're doing it in a completely different way, because other systems will use platinum electrodes. And so not only are you getting water that has probably some molecular hydrogen in it, but you're also getting some of these heavy metals in your water, because they do eventually, when you're using electrodes, they do start to kind of come off. And so, I think that, with the diamond electrodes, that's what caught my eye, is that they're boron based. And so boron is a mineral. It's not toxic to the human body. It's in just very, very, very low amounts. So we're not looking at any amounts of boron that would hurt us. And the diamond electrodes really set us apart, because this is a Swiss technology that's been around for 20 years. And really our story goes back over to Europe. And our founder, he was using the electrolysis process to clean fruits and vegetables. But what happened is that the fruits and vegetables were lasting so much longer on the shelf. And the people who were, in the industry were saying there's something very different about this water. It's really helping to preserve and really grow better produce. And so then we moved into farms, and we saw the same thing. We put our modules, giant modules of this diamond electrolysis in, and we'd see that the cows were healthier. There was less mortality. They were using less of things they have to use to grow animals. And so that's where we started to think, okay, let's start to do some human research. And that's kind of how some companies evolved as well. And so what's different about ours is that we're membraneless. And so most electrolysis has a membrane where it's only capturing, the only thing that they're after is that molecular hydrogen. Yes, WEO water has molecular hydrogen, but we also have dissolved oxygen. We also have shown by very, very technical assays and different techniques with the University of Michigan, University of Florida, that we are actually structurally changing the water. We're creating bioactives, over 200 bioactives. We're looking at the bond length of different molecular hydrogen and different of the H2O, and we can see that we have energy with these different really high level experiments that are coming back and showing us that we're very different from just a typical electrolysis.
So let's just take a step back 1 second. So electrolysis, just very simply for the listener, is running electricity through water for all extents and purposes, right?
That's right.
And
breaking the water molecule apart. You got it.
Right. And when we do that, we get, it sounds like more than just hydrogen ion. So, typically, so for those who don't remember from high school chemistry, water is H2O, right? And so we're getting more than just, H2 and O2. It sounds like when we're breaking these molecules apart, you're getting, I heard you say hundreds of different bioactives. Is that right?
200 different bioactives. Yes.
200. So presumably there's like H2, there's O2, there's H2O2, there's, I don't know, I'm making up numbers now, H4O4. I mean, like there's a lot of different bioactives here. And it's the properties of these chemicals that are then, we presume, at least having some effect on the human body. And it sounds like plants and agriculture.
That, especially with the energetics that we're looking at, like Kelvin force microscopy, some of the energy quantifications, we're seeing high levels of energy in those the molecular bonds.
So on a chemical level, then we're not really we're changing the water. We're not really taking out impurities necessarily. So, it's not like we're filtering out heavy metals or bacteria or anything like that. We're actually looking at modifying the water itself.
That's right. And so we suggest that a person use the best water that they can find. And so if that is a Brita filter and you're filtering out with that carbon filter, that's fine. If you're using reverse osmosis or distilled, that's fine. You just want to be able to use a water that you believe is the best. We have users that use tap water because that's the best that they can use, and that is totally fine. And you're right, Dr. Mallin, we are not adding anything to the water. We're not taking anything away from the water. We're just really using the potency of the diamond electrolysis process to split water into these different molecules and put energy into the water.
So then where do we think the effect is coming from? What is the H2 and the dissolved oxygen? Where in the body is that having an effect, and how is it having an effect?
Yeah, I think that one of the most potent effects is on the redox of the body. So redox is reduction and oxidation. Now, just really simplistically, think of oxidation as just inflammation. Think of free radicals in your body, and they're going and they're chewing up your skin, and you're getting wrinkles, and they're affecting your brain and your heart. That's just a matter of life. And I believe that we live in a very toxic world. And so the air we're breathing in the water that we're drinking, the food that we're eating has a lot more contaminants and things that can cause oxidative stress, which is just a synonym for inflammation. And so molecular hydrogen, one of the components in our water, is a known selective antioxidant. And I know you're going to love this because Wild Health is stellar at genetics as well. It acts on that NRF2 pathway. So NRF2 is a transcription factor. And what happens is that when our body is under stress, under inflammation, the alarm sounds and the transcription factor NRF2 goes down to your DNA, and it tells your DNA to make your own glutathione, superoxide dismutase, as well as catalase. And what do all those do? They fight inflammation. And so I believe that that's one of the most potent effects, is that we're looking at a water that we already need, and it has that antioxidant in it. It's embedded in it because of our process. And I just think that, I'm just going to go out on my little soapbox here, is that if you look at the medical literature and you look at antioxidant studies, they're not very good. They're just not. We don't see stellar things when we're using high doses, of vitamin C, vitamin E, glutathione. Those are kind of like your mainstays. And this is the reason why I believe is that glutathione, vitamin C, and vitamin E, when they act as an antioxidant, what happens is that they then turn into oxidants. They turn into molecules that are a burden for your body. So then your body has to use them in cycles to recycle each other. And they're also not selective. Some of the oxidants in our body, such as hydrogen peroxide, those are signaling molecules. Those are important. Those are telling your body to go fight that cancer, go get that virus. And so when we're pouring in antioxidants that are not selective, there's a big detriment to that.
I like that. It's challenging to find things in practice that alters the transcription of DNA in certain ways, right? And that's what you're talking about doing, is instead of giving someone glutathione or giving someone vitamin C, you're talking about increasing the body's own natural production of those chemicals. And I think there's definitely a place for both. We use glutathione and antioxidants in our patients, sure, when we need to, but we also don't try to use them all the time, because I recognize that if I just give somebody glutathione, then we're either creating a dependency there, or we're giving them something that, as you mentioned, is just going to get oxidized back into its its oxidative form, and then it's a net zero, right? Because you've given them something, an antioxidant, it eventually turns into an oxidant. Okay, so the curious thing though is that in producing those antioxidants, you're also producing oxidants, right? Like you're also producing free radicals. So help me make sense of that. How is the balance between antioxidants and free radicals having a net positive effect on the body?
Yeah, I like to think of it using the analogy of exercise. So we know that when we exercise, we're actually causing some inflammation. We're causing some breakdown, some stress. But that stress is a hormetic stress. It's like a positive stress in that it's helping us to really adapt better. And that if you look at the studies on reactive oxygen species, if you blunt those during workouts, if you're continuing to blunt your reactive oxygen species that you are producing when you're exercising, you don't get that positive adaptation. So WEO water is a balance. We have the antioxidant potential, we have the ROS. And you also look at different studies about how, again, ROS are important in immunity and in cancer and all kinds of other wound healing and things. And so really we're just, again, it's just like redox. We're just looking at that balance and how it affects the human body.
So in your on your website, you guys mentioned multiple different things that WEO water has been shown to be beneficial for. And so when I say shown, I choose to say shown rather than claim, because I guess they're interchangeable, but you guys are actually citing research, which is helpful. So maybe we could go through a few of these. Aging, for example, is mentioned. How, I presume you're going to tell me something about antioxidants, but I'd love to hear from you. How is WEO water affecting aging?
Yeah, and I think aging again goes back to the balance of redox. So if you love research, go check out Oteen's paper on the hallmarks of aging. And a lot of those hallmarks of aging go back to just an unchecked oxidative stress, unchecked inflammation. It just interferes with so many biological functions, protein aggregation. And another one that we really have some really great research on in culture is senescence. So senescence happens when your cell is insulted so many times that it can't replicate anymore. And so when that happens, the senescent cell is like a zombie cell. And so you'd think that that's okay. Like, okay, the cell is done replicating, it's just going to be there. But what happens is it secretes SASP factors. And those SASP factors are very inflammatory. And so one of the hallmarks of aging is having this burden of senescent cells. And we are showing with the WEO water, and this is in culture. So we're really looking at mechanism. We look at what's the mechanism behind why we're seeing positive effects. And we found that WEO water could modulate the markers of cellular senescence and their gene expression.
That's super cool. What about skin? I was looking through some of the research here, and some of the research on skin was pretty impressive in terms of its the benefits of water.
Yeah, I mean, it really impressed me too. And I mean, this day and age, it's like everything that we can do to maintain like a really healthy skin, healthy immune system, all of this. So when you have positive skin results and you can see that that bioactive in our water really quenching the free radicals. You guys know this may be boring again, but really your free radicals are what takes your collagen out. And so the signs of aging, when you have that, the collagen is not there anymore, the wrinkles will set in. And so again, you're just looking at the power of the water as the antioxidant to come in. And those studies really speak for themselves. Some of those before and after pictures are really amazing. And we know that our body is 70% water, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but we know how important hydration is and how important we can see it in the mirror when we are dehydrated, right? Our skin just doesn't look the same. But then, so if you're using hydration because you know it's good for your skin health, well, then now you've just upped that game because now you have an antioxidant water. And I totally agree with you. Some of those studies, showing the effects, they make sense from a pathophysiology standpoint. And really, like we hear that all the time with our users that their skin is improving. They don't need their Botox anymore, and they're really pleased with the results.
Skin is one of those interesting ones because it's so helpful to be able to see the outcomes. I mean, like the psoriasis study that that you guys mentioned, where people's psoriasis patches are literally decreasing in size, and it's like, we can't see inside the body when your glutathione levels are good, right? I mean, it's not something you can visualize. Sure, if you have a disease process where you need antioxidants, and you might have some outcome, but it's just so helpful to be able to visually see changes in size of like psoriatic patches, which is likely directly related to a reduction in inflammation. I mean, I'm not sure what else you would attribute it to.
Yeah, I would agree. Reduction in inflammation. Mm-hmm.
What about immunity? You've mentioned some transcription factors associated with some of its other effects. I suspect there's probably something here around cytokines. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so we know that immune system that is in better balance is one that has a body that has lower loads of inflammation. There's lots of papers on that. As we start to lower the cytokines, the immune system just works better. And we have a lot of internal data on in culture studies where we've shown WEO's effect on natural killer cells and T cells. We've shown that again in culture that we were able to, compared to filtered water, we were able to balance the ratio of the adaptive to the adaptive to the innate immune system, the two arms of the immune system. So really, I do think it comes down to those two things. I think that we're really looking at the reduction of that oxidative stress, which helps with the immune system. And then we're in R&D right now. We have some amazing scientists all over the globe, and we're looking at, again, mechanisms, like why are we seeing this? Eventually we'll get around to doing, an immunity study. We have some great AI models out there to help us with that. But we intend on doing an immunity study. Those are just a little bit tricky because you have to get a population that, is at risk. So marathon runners are a really great population to look at. But, right now we definitely see the positive effects, and, who needs better immunity these days? I think we all do.
Yeah. Are you thinking that it's going to end up being more of a reduction in autoimmunity, a improvement in poor immunity function, or maybe a combination of both, like more of a modulator?
I think it's going to be a modulator. That's what we've seen in our senescent cell work. It is definitely a modulator. And so I think that it just depends on the balance of your immune system. I don't know about you, but I used to love the lymphomap test. And that was a test where I could actually see someone's immune system. And it wasn't until I could actually look in and open that black box, and, not just because they have Hashimoto's or, they have MS does not mean that they have Th1 dominance. I mean, we're taught so many things. But what I'm saying is that I intend on using like a really high level test and then seeing which way we're modulating it. But again, the WEO water seems to just be modulating, like from a good perspective, because of like that balance of antioxidant to oxidant properties.
All right. What other health categories, I guess, do you feel like there's a clear benefit here for electrolyzed water?
Yeah, I think exercise performance is definitely one of the areas that there's a lot of published research, really like looking at where is it the best. It's really on that short-term recovery. It has some anti-fatigue effects in the literature. And I really think that, again, it could come down to the effects of molecular hydrogen. It could be the increased electrons in the water, that those increased bioactive species that are carrying all that energy. Maybe they're contributing to the OXPHOS. Maybe they're contributing to mitochondrial performance. But we do see a mitigation in the decline that normally comes with repeated bouts of intermittent exercise, and that is published up and down a lot. And then also we have that dissolved oxygen, and so we've seen in our studies that we can actually increase the amount of hemoglobin, and we know that, and this was an in vivo study, and so we know that hemoglobin carries oxygen. So perhaps the mechanism is we're delivering more oxygen to the tissues.
So you're seeing an increase, I didn't catch that one. So you're seeing an increase in hemoglobin levels in response to higher dissolved oxygen in the water that a person is consuming.
so we had the in vivo study where we compared drinking WIO water versus drinking just a filtered water, and we saw the hemoglobin concentrations were increased.
Interesting.
And decrease of pro-inflammatory markers. Yeah.
Interesting. That would certainly, I mean, obviously higher hemoglobin levels would certainly imply athletic performance, at least in the endurance realm. Certainly. That's great. Well, what's next for WIO? Where are you guys going next? Is there going to be a home water delivery system? It's going to stick with bottles? What's the plan?
Oh, sky's the limit. I mean, we're so proud of our research and our development, and it's just where can we not use better water, right? We all absolutely we need to shower with, we need, to take a bath. So we're, and obviously to drink. And so we're looking at, again, all kinds of different applications. The most important one I see coming from background as a physician is obviously oral hydration. But we have some plans for topical application studies, and just taking our technology and really putting it where it is best needed. And I just see a place everywhere. We're in agriculture. We help egg production on farms. We help have farmers have better animal quality, and that's what we're all looking for. We have to put our food first, and again, food is medicine, and so really just trying to optimize the foundations is just why I'm really, really happy and glad to be a part of this movement that WIO is fostering.
Awesome. Well, where can people find out more if they're interested in to learn more about WIO?
Yeah, you can go to www.we-o.com. All of the published literature, everything that I talked about is there, so you can go do some digging. You can go have a day on PubMed. You can look through the internal studies that we've done, but that's a really good resource. We have all of our information on there. You can find my contact information on there as well if you do have any questions.
I will say, I as I mentioned, I haven't used the WIO bottle or anything, but I do definitely appreciate the use of scientific research on your site. It's not just lip service, and I wish more products would do that to make us all a little bit more confident that what they're selling is worthwhile. So, Kelly, it's been awesome meeting you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Anything else you want to say to the listeners?
No, that I think it was a great comprehensive look at WIO and what we do. And again, if anyone has any questions, just reach out to us. And it was a pleasure meeting you too, Dr. Mallin. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Hey everybody, a quick note about our precision medicine training program. It's been a really popular course. We're constantly hiring health coaches and physicians, but we're only hiring them as we grow if they're trained in precision medicine. You don't get that in medical school or other places. And so we've developed this training program, and we've completely revamped it recently. It's a lot more robust. So now there's still over 50 hours of live synchronous training. There's also all the asynchronous credit, over 50 hours of content. And as a physician, you get about 50 hours of AMA Category 1 CME credit, which is a nice benefit. For the health coaches going through the training program, it's now accredited by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching. So graduates are going to meet the requirement to sit for the board exam and become board certified health coaches. So there's a lot of benefits to that, not just certification, but also when it comes to things like insurance reimbursement. So it's a really robust program. If you're a physician, a nurse practitioner, a PA, or someone that just wants to be a health coach, it's open to all of those categories. There's the 6-month program that's kind of the full program. And then we also have just a fundamentals of precision medicine course, which is completely on your own. It's online. It's all asynchronous. You still get the 50 hours of AMA Category 1, but it's self-paced, and you still have access to the online community, but not all the synchronous lectures as well. So if you're interested in checking that out, go to wildhealth.com/education, and we'd love to have you as part of our next class.